Hello, today I'll be talking about accountability and chains of responsibility. There is no clear-cut interpretation of what accountability is. It is due to the subjective characteristic it possesses. It is believed that accountability actually changes and is sustained and given an extra dimension of meaning by its context. Today we will try to get a better understanding of this ambiguous concept, how it is practiced, and how it is practiced in the executive department of the government. Before we begin to go more in depth, allow me to define accountability in its simplest sense. Accountability is a relationship in which people are required to describe and be responsible for their actions. Of course, this undermines what accountability really is, as important dimensions of its meaning are sacrificed in generic definitions of accountability. So, what is accountability? Is it something someone has been granted, hence making it an obligation? Is it something felt? Well, it is believed that accountability has discipline-specific meanings. For instance, from an auditor's perspective, financial or numerical matters constitute accountability, whereas a philosopher may view accountability as a part of ethics. As you can see, how we define accountability is very much subjective by nature. Despite the numerous attempts to define what accountability is, and the inability to have a consensus on what accountability should mean, the managerial model of administrative reform has a strong claim on what accountability is, its definition, and how to measure it. So, accountability defined within a managerial model requires those with delegated authority to be answerable for producing output or the use of resources to achieve certain ends. It is advanced by specifications of outcome, performance, or objectives by managers, and their superiors accompanied by a relaxation of formalized controls over inputs and processes. This is by Collin, 1985. So it highlights accountability as being cost-effective, efficient, and have managerial autonomy. So more or less we have an idea of the essence of accountability, but I believe we should go more in depth in order to comprehend this fully. So in practice, the understanding of accountability in the public service has been conditioned by the New Zealand public management model and its assent on contractualism. In an effort to clarify responsibilities and in turn accountability, contractual arrangements, such as performance agreements and purchase agreements, have been used to specify the nature of assigned responsibilities. This has led to the impression that people are only accountable for the things that are specified in contracts, or for what can be measured and indeed over which they have control. In a commentary on the New Zealand public management system, Professor Schick noted that accountability revolves around the ex-ante specification of both financial conditions and outputs and the ex-post reporting of results. He implied that things do not get done because they have not been explicitly defined as responsibilities. So, in this perspective, accountability is seen as concept like takes form with a hierarchical accountability in which the subordinate is accountable to the superiors, and this is based on their contract. So they are bounded by contract, they're given a responsibility, hence they are accountable to their superiors. Moreover, responsibilities of ministers and chief executives are derived from a number of sources, including legislation, constitutional conventions, common law, and cabinet rules. The State Sector Act 1988, and the Public Finance Act 1989 focuses on the responsibilities of chief executives and to a lesser extent, ministers. Responsibility and accountability is further strengthened by the Official Information Act 1982, which is based on the notion that good information and access to it is the basis of good accountability. So, in other words, accountability from this sense is measured as determining and specifying your roles, being able to do those roles and reporting it and it being reviewed. So that is the notion of accountability. So let me somehow deviate into another perspective on accountability, which is the holistic accountability. So from the managerial accountability, where it's more of hierarchical, the subordinates are accountable to the superiors. In holistic accountability, it highlights trust and shared values. So instead of being just accountable to superior, holistic accountability allows a person delegated a duty to be accountable to stakeholders. So they're taken into account accountability to everyone around them. So this, instead of going from a bottom-up approach, it goes everywhere. So a person in duty may be accountable to his superiors, to his subordinates, and to the stakeholders around him, given the environment. Thank you.